All right, today we're going to talk about something huge in economics, a force that's both a creator and a destroyer. It's the reason empires rise and, more importantly, why giants fall. Let's dive right in.
So, let's start with a bit of a mystery. I want you to think back maybe 10, 20 years. Think about the companies that were everywhere, the absolute titans of industry. They seemed totally invincible, right? And then, poof, they were gone.
Have you ever really stopped and wondered why companies like Kodak, Blockbuster, or Nokia just vanished? Seriously, Kodak was photography. Blockbuster was the plan for Friday night. And Nokia, come on, everyone had one of those brick phones. It wasn't like they just faded away slowly. It felt like one day they were on top of the world, and the next, they were a ghost. So what on earth happened?
Now, it's really easy to just say, oh, bad management, or they made one wrong move. But that's not the whole story, not even close. The truth is, what happened to them wasn't just bad luck. It's a natural, almost unstoppable process that's baked right into the DNA of our economy.
Okay, so to really get this, we've got to go back a bit and meet the guy who put a name to this whole phenomenon. We're talking about an Austrian economist, Joseph Schumpeter, back in the 1940s. And this guy didn't see economics as just numbers on a page. He saw it as a drama, a powerful force of nature, and he gave it a name to match.
He called it creative destruction. Think about those two words, creative, destruction. It's this constant process where new, innovative things don't just compete with the old stuff, they completely wipe it out. They make entire industries, entire ways of doing things totally obsolete. It's about clearing the deck to make room for what's next.
See, Schumpeter's big idea was that capitalism isn't some steady, stable thing. Nope, he saw it as this constantly churning, evolving storm, and this cycle of destroying the old to create the new, that wasn't some unfortunate side effect. For him, it was the very heart of capitalism. It's the engine that literally keeps the whole thing from grinding to a halt. And he had this incredible metaphor for it. He didn't just call it a process. He called it the gale of creative destruction. A gale, like a powerful, unstoppable storm. And that just perfectly captures it, doesn't it? It's this force of nature that just sweeps through the economy, tearing down the old and making space for the new to grow.
Okay, so that's the theory. But let's make this real. Let's look at how this gale has actually played out, where old tech and old rules got completely blown away. Just look at this timeline. Think about the typewriter. For decades, that was how you wrote things professionally. Then along comes the personal computer. It didn't just make typing a little bit better, did it? It obliterated the typewriter industry. And in its place, this huge new ecosystem of software and hardware companies popped up. And now we've got AI, which is starting to change how we even interact with computers. You see the pattern? Each new wave makes the last one look like a dinosaur.
This is where it gets fascinating. Look at the incumbents, the big guys like Kodak and Blockbuster. Here's the crazy part. Kodak invented the first digital camera, but they buried it. Why? They were afraid it would kill their cash cow, which was film. And Blockbuster, they had a chance to buy Netflix and basically laughed them out of the room, thinking it was just some tiny mail order thing. Then you have the innovators, Apple and Netflix. They didn't just adapt to change, they were the change. They actively worked to make the old way of doing things obsolete.
And this all leads to a really brutal truth about capitalism. Survival doesn't go to the biggest or the most comfortable companies. It goes to the innovators. It tells you that if you're not willing to destroy your own success to build the next thing, you can bet someone else is more than happy to do it for you.
Okay, but it's super important to remember that this whole process isn't just some abstract economic theory. The destruction part of creative destruction is real, and it can be incredibly painful. There's a real human cost when this gale blows through.
You really have to look at it like two sides of the same coin. On one side, there's the destruction. Jobs are lost, entire factories shut down. Communities that relied on that industry can be devastated. It's tough. But then, on the other side, you have the creation. You get these huge long-term benefits. We get better technology, more efficient ways of doing things, and eventually new and different kinds of jobs. The whole system becomes more productive.
So it's not just random chaos, it's a cycle. Innovation leads to destruction, which leads to renewal. You have to clear out the old, inefficient stuff to make room for the new, better stuff to grow. It's this constant churn that keeps the whole economy from just stagnating. It's what drives progress.
And look, this isn't some dusty old theory from a textbook. This is happening right now, all around us. In fact, you could argue that Schumpeter's gale is blowing harder today than it ever has before. You just have to look at the headlines.
I mean, think about it. Electric vehicles aren't just a new kind of car. They're threatening the entire oil and gas industry, from the gas station on the corner to the global supply chains. Renewable energy is doing the exact same thing to coal. And what about just tapping your phone to pay for coffee? That simple act is shaking up the foundations of banking and cash itself. We are literally in the middle of several of these storms at the exact same time.
All right, so let's recap the big takeaways here. The term was coined by Joseph Schumpeter. The core idea is that new innovation doesn't just improve on the old, it replaces it entirely. And yeah, this process drives incredible progress, but it always comes with short-term pain and disruption. At its heart, it's one of the foundational principles of economic growth in a capitalist system. So, what this really teaches us is that progress has a price. It's a trade-off. Every single time we take a huge leap forward as a society, something gets left behind. And it forces us to accept a pretty tough idea. For the world to keep moving, for us to keep improving, some things, even things we love, have to become history. Because the alternative is standing still.
And that leaves us with one last big question. With everything that's happening right now, AI, robotics, you name it, that gale Schumpeter talked about is turning into a hurricane. So the question for you is, what's next on the chopping block? What industry, what job, what way of life is about to be creatively destroyed? Think about it.